Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Go ahead, hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already. This video is going to talk about Aaliyah and R. Kelly, since that seems to be the highlight of everybody's conversation. I was watching Nick at Night, and for the mass majority, the callers just had to keep concluding that he was guilty based on the situation with Aaliyah. So let's just go ahead and knock this out the way and give you my perspective. So, one thing I find odd in this whole thing is this new certificate of marriage. So, most people don't realize there's differences between certificate of marriages and license for marriages. So this is saying certificate of marriage, and from what I've saw, most certificate of marriage have the people involved signature on it, which I don't see. That's one thing that's odd. And I see a whole new person. So this new person I'm seeing is Karen A. Yarbrough. Hmm. And this looks like a date 1/4/2019. And what that's about. But let's talk about the timeline. And as you can see, it starts with Aaliyah and everybody feeling like he married Aaliyah based on the fact that they saw this marriage license printed in Vibe. So this is the certificate of marriage that was printed in Vibe magazine. And again, I always thought the certificate included the signatures of the people involved. You see the officiant title, Nathan J. Edmond. You see the county clerk, David Orr. You see the application date, August 30th, 1994. And in the other, oh, you see the date of marriage, August 31st, 1994. But then if you go on down, you see issued 9/20, 1994. Like, what's going on with all these different dates? Date recorded September 6, 1994. You need the certificate before you actually get married. According to this, the application was August 30th. They got married August 31st. Do they normally approve these certificates that quick? So, in the Surviving R. Kelly, Daryl McDavid openly admits that he arranged for the fraudulent documentation for Aaliyah and R. Kelly to get married.
This live Facebook because I don't want y'all to misunderstand me when it comes to what I've written in my book. I really told this story a long time ago. I was trying to tell people when I was with R. Kelly. My name is Demetrius Smith. I was with R. Kelly from 1985, and I left him in '95. And I just want to make it clear that I was not about being receptive to him messing with young girls. I always fought when the lines were long and there were young girls. I tried to tell the parents. I tried to tell the record company of the things that I was seeing because I was the first to see. And I didn't see him ever touching the young girls. But his actions in wanting to entertain them was inappropriate to me. So I tried to make that known. And as we went on from 95, after he married Aaliyah, I did get the license. I did that. I didn't forge it myself, but I walked her into places that gave her IDs. And I did that because Robert was told that he had to do this to save himself from jail. I've been with him from 85 to 95, and because of that, I stood in the gap to help him for that moment. It was supposed to fix things. It was supposed to change things. It was supposed to give him a reality check because that's when it first started. That's when it happened in my sight. Coming up in the Kenwood days, watching him play with Tiffany Hawkins and the Javantes, and they were kids. There was no sexual activity, and it was the beginning. So nothing was really happening. It didn't happen until after he got his deal that he became a monster to me. And I don't want to be misunderstood as I left him in 95. I'm not with him. Everybody that's with him after me.
I realized a few minutes ago I made an error, so let me fix that for all those people that will run with what I said and know exactly who I was talking about. But in Surviving R. Kelly, it was Demetrius Smith who stated that he went out his way to get this fake documents in order to get Aaliyah married. Now, Daryl McDavid is the guy who is now in custody with R. Kelly under this so-called RICO, this racketeering charge. But we'll get to him later on. So let's go back to Demetrius Smith because I got a couple problems with his story. Now, after hearing his version of what went down, let me go back through some of these articles. Now, according to Demetrius Smith at the time, this is how he said he obtained this illegal or invalid marriage certificate. He says, and I quote, "We drove to the hotel where Rob and Aaliyah were staying, picked them up, and then we drove around City Hall in Maywood, Illinois, to investigate what we need in order to get a marriage license. They weren't asking for much at all. Basically, three pieces of ID and a state ID showing that Aaliyah was 18 years old." I could have sworn I read somewhere, though, not only do you have to prove your ID, you also have to prove your residence. But let me go back. When we left there, we went back to the hotel to put together a plan to make sure this marriage would happen. I was still wishing I could call Barry so he could help us fix this right away. So, according to him, he didn't call Barry. If you ask me, I believe Barry initiated this. Maybe things would have been different had I walked away from this a long time ago. You think? Let me skip down. Although I was opposed to everything that was going on, I still had to assist in this effort to make sure R. Kelly and Aaliyah were married. He was not forced. Nobody made him. He wasn't coerced. So, again, if this went down the way he's claiming it went down, why isn't he being charged in anything? He claims he knew a lady that worked at the public aid office. She was in charge of taking the photos for IDs when people were approved to receive welfare. So I went to see her and took Aaliyah with me. Aaliyah waited in the car while I went to talk to my friend to get her to do me a favor. I already told Darrell and Rob it might be possible to get my friend to give Aaliyah a state ID, but it might cost. They told me to make it happen and not worry about the cost. After negotiating a fee of $500, I took Aaliyah into the office where she took a photo stating her name, birth date, and a year that showed that she was 18. This was our first proof of identification, and it was an official state of Illinois ID card. Hmm. I have never known when you receive welfare to have to go and get an ID card. And again, when you get an ID card, so he's telling us that this lady at this state welfare card is just letting people come in that she knows and she'll print them up a state ID. Is that what he's telling us? Why isn't she being charged for anything? That sounds like a crime to me. Again, all these people in the background doing all these crimes, but we gonna deflect and point the finger at R. Kelly. So if this story went down the way he said it went down, I see one person in particular that has done a lot that could be charged. He then says R. Kelly knew someone who worked for FedEx who would allow her to say that she worked for FedEx. So we were able to get two IDs in Jettown. On top of that, had a school ID card. With the three forms of IDs, we were able to obtain a marriage license for Robert Sylvester Kelly and Aaliyah Hawkins to be married. Once this was done, R. Kelly and another friend who knew a preacher who performed the ceremony. After they were married, we left Rob and Aaliyah alone for a few hours. Hmm. This is so blurry. I'm trying to make out the words. So, at the time, Aaliyah was asked multiple times about this marriage certificate that was published in Vibe, and she always insisted that they were never married. This from Jim Derogatis saying he interviewed Aaliyah himself, and he claims before the interview he called the Cook County clerk David Orr, and he confirmed that the marriage certificate in Vibe was authentic. The officiant it named refused to comment about R. Kelly. I'm not going to say anything, the Reverend Nathan J. Edmond told me. If you want to know anything about him, you can ask him. When we talked, Aaliyah said she had seen the document in Vibe, but she didn't have much to say about it. I saw it, but I don't really comment on that because I know that that's not true. When people ask me, I tell them, hey, don't believe all the mess. We're close, and people took it the wrong way, coming straight from Aaliyah, reported by Jim Derogatis. This man, Nathan J. Edmond, is the officiant that allegedly married them, that will not comment on the situation. David Orr is the county clerk, as mentioned. Guess what? He is now a former mayor of Chicago, and I believe he's still in the political field because I read somewhere that he's supposed to be stepping down. I wonder why. Hmm. a lot of people in the background that allegedly made moves in this whole marriage, yet we're only focusing in on R. Kelly. Why? It doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, when are people going to start asking questions? It is not that easy to go in and just get a marriage certificate. And these forms of IDs that he's saying that he provided, it just sound a little odd to me. I don't know about anybody else. It just sound odd to me. When I looked up, when I looked up acceptable forms of ID, I basically come to applying for a state ID, and it tells me about going to a secretary of state, getting your social security number and all this proof that you need in order to get an ID. So this man is telling us that he went to this little office for food stamps and got a state ID card, and that was her state ID, and that was used in the court to validate that this girl is 18. And this man, David Orr, county clerk, accepted this, is saying that this license or certificate is valid. But the thing is, even if they went through the motions to stage all of this and get this certificate, it does not conclude that a marriage concurred. A lot of people have their eyes open and recognize that, as this commenter said, will they discuss how Barry orchestrated that entire situation? From what she's been told, that was supposed to have been a publicity stunt created by Barry. He's a conniving POS. There's so much that could possibly there's so much that probably won't be covered in this movie due to the family and nobody of importance that knew her to give their input. Tons of friends and people could be involved, but nobody is fucking with it without Diane and them on board. So she's commenting on the Aaliyah movie at the time when they romanticized the R. Kelly situationship. But again, I pose a question to you. Just think about it. I'm gonna show you a clip when I get finished giving my opinion, and it's in that time period, interviews of Aaliyah telling you out of her own mouth that her mother, her family was traveling with her. So for this to all have went down under the radar is a little bit far-fetched to me. According to Aaliyah herself, her family was always around. So how could they have snuck off to go do this grand scheme to get married without anybody knowing? And then to say, well, they also got the marriage annulled. Well, if it was proven that Aaliyah obviously was underage and got married as they claimed, the marriage is invalid in itself. So there's no need to get it annulled. So I haven't seen those paperworks. They want to blast everything. I'll wait for those. My problem is a lot of you are running with bullcrap and you're not seeing through it. And at this particular point, now that I'm seeing that every person involved in this case is a known liar and is documented lying, I'm going to need proof for everything that they have to say. Because at the end of the day, they seem to be changing their story in a way that only benefits them. Barry Hankerson had a lot of shady business dealings going on. At the end of the day, He is the man responsible for why you won't be able to stream Aaliyah, Tank, some of Tony Braxton. It's a lot of artists that have been in messed up contracts dealing with Barry Hankerson. So for you people to take the words and to take a scheme created by this man, from my perspective, was something to give him leverage over R. Kelly. I do not believe there was an actual marriage. I believe it was all a publicity stunt. And what's funny to me, people find that idea as far fetched when just look at today's media coverage on some of these relationships today. Like even how Cardi B and Offset, for example, staged that whole marriage proposal when come to find out they were already married. Like, y'all, wake up. It happens. The media is manipulated based on whatever agenda is going on. And then on top of that, when you get married, it's so much paperwork you have to go through. And according to their certificate, they filed the application and got married the next day. But all you hear this man over here explaining is how they got her fake couple sets of IDs. That still doesn't explain how that would pass a check to get a certificate from a official court. That doesn't make sense to me. What also doesn't make sense to me is this man can get on a national platform and admit this fraudulent activity and not be held responsible for that. The only person they're attaching this is R. Kelly, but he isn't the one who took her to get the IDs. He isn't the one who openly admitted this. These are just talking about penalties of perpetrating such a fraudulent activity to get someone married. This is talking about the proof of age required of applicant over the age of 18. So let's hypothetically say the court thought she was 18. All persons over 18 years of age and under 25 years of age shall furnish documentary evidence to the probate judge or any other officer authorized under the law to issue marriage licenses which shall prove the age of the applicant to the satisfaction of such probate judge or other officer. So again, I don't feel like it was just that easy to get a marriage certificate. It don't make sense to me. And then when it is found out that she is a child, why wasn't it pursued then? You don't have to get a marriage annulled that is invalid from the start. So for them to just be throwing out there her parents got the marriage annulled, I'll wait. I'll wait for that. I want to see that. This is just talking about the differences between the marriage license and a certificate for those who don't know. And again, they posted a marriage certificate. Okay? Where are all these people that have been tied to what's going on? Why aren't they being charged? Are my questions. If y'all want to believe that R. Kelly and Aaliyah really got married, I want to know, are you going to ask that other people be held accountable? Or are you just only concentrating on R. Kelly? So I'll conclude this video with letting Aaliyah tell you from her own mouth. She enjoyed her music career, so contrary to people trying to paint her as this newfound victim, don't believe that. Open your eyes and see what really was going on. And if y'all want to stick to holding somebody accountable because you feel like actual marriage occurred, then hold all people accountable. So let's let Aaliyah tell you. A, she enjoyed her career, and B, her family was always around her. So to speculate that she ran off and got married under the radar is a little bit far fetched.
I literally have grown up in front of the public's eye, and it's actually been cool. You know, I get a lot of respect, I've gotten a lot of love from my peers in the industry and from the industry period, and it's been a wonderful experience. You know, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm glad I got into the industry at the age that I did. I've learned a lot, and yet at the same, I feel like a veteran to a certain degree because it's been 7 years deep, you know, that I've been out here and doing my thing, but I'm still young and I have so much more to accomplish. So it's been a wonderful experience.
Hey, get up on the floor, you see, show your personality, be who you wanna be. Tell me.
So how did you hook up with R. Kelly? Because I mean, is he like, he's obviously I guess a mentor for you, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
he is. He's my best friend, really. We've been knowing each other for around 3 years, and I met him before he came out with Born into the 90s through my manager, which is also his manager.
Right.
That's how we met, and I sang for him when I first met him, and a couple months later we went to the studio and started working.
What was so special about her that you actually hooked up with her to actually, you know, get that whole thing happening?
Well, I don't want to come off like she's big-headed, but all you have to do is take a look at her, you know, and she's glowing. And that's what you have to have for someone like me to really want to break down and work with you or produce you or to be able to produce. Because if you're not glowing in some kind of way, I can't even touch you, you know. And that's what Leah is doing. That's what she was doing when I first met her. She was glowing. She had that thing, that vibe.
I kind of just laid back and let him, you know, kind of take control because he had the experience.
Right.
And of course the talent's there, but I learned a lot from him. So hopefully around the second album I'll be able to pull out a little input. I mean, my parents always told me, and I sung a lot with my mom, but you know, when I heard other people's views, and everyone else was telling me that I could sing, is when I really realized I had a great voice. Really, my parents always told me, but you know, parents, they love their kids. They're gonna tell
Yeah, they don't tell you anything.
But when a lot of other people started telling me I could sing and I had something special, was when I realized.
How could the one I gave my world to throw my world away? How could the one who said I love you say the things you say?
Seems you have a great support system, and your dad travels with you and your brother.
My family's with me most of the time. My manager is my uncle, so you know he's been in the business for a while. So having him, you know, helped a lot in getting a lot of things done because he had, you know, a lot of connections. Well, you have to grow up quickly in this business because you have to, you know when not to go somewhere, know when to go back to the hotel or whatever. But you know, my mom travels with me a lot, and my dad.